Now, Andy, there are so many self-help books and programs out there on the market, right? Like Think and Grow Rich, The Secret, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and loads more. What is it that makes your books different than others that have been written on the same topic?
It's mainly that I teach how to think, not what to think. Yeah. So it's not, the idea isn't to put loads and loads more information inside somebody's head. The idea is to make the information that they've already learnt applicable. And most of the stuff I work on is about the truisms in life. So everything in there is an obvious truth that you've already learnt somewhere else, or you've accepted. So it's come from somewhere. But the problem is that you have no way of putting it into place. And so what I work on is how to put it into place and make it effective. So, for example, there is some stuff in there that's new that nobody had ever heard of before, and I did. But the vast majority of things is, for example, like with meditation. And please don't let me take away anything from people who meditate at all. But when I came up with No Mind, it was the technique to get to No Mind. So the several techniques I teach in there to get to No Mind. If you're struggling with it, how to get there, and that sort of thing. They're all very, very simple things that almost seem obvious, and other people have written them before. I mean, basically, there's not loads of new stuff. This is just the distilled wisdom that has come from Krishna, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Jesus, Muhammad, you name it, and success teachers. All I've done is I've gone, right, okay, well, all of this stuff is great and it works for me. Why isn't it working for other people? Right, okay, it's not working because their mind can't work to it. So what's going on? Why does my mind work this way? What's going on with my mind? And so what I did was I worked out that I had structured thought going on without any effort. I got it naturally. It was naturally in me. And I saw that it was naturally in all the successful people as well. We all think structured thought regarding the area of our lives we're successful at. But that's also true of people who aren't successful, because everybody's successful in some areas of life. For example, a multi-millionaire could be extremely successful in business, but could have a really, really bad relationship at home. Children not talk to him, or has bad relationship with his wife. So he's got structured thought where it comes to business, and he's got unstructured thought where it comes to relationships. Yeah, but that was it. So when I noticed that everybody had automatic, correct, structured thought in their lives for the area of life they're successful at, then what I did was put it into place so it was easy for people to apply it in whichever area of life they feel they're lacking in. And that's what the difference is. It's very, very simple. It's not, as you just said, it can take a time to digest it, but the results are almost instant. So, which is why you say it's like a drug, because you read a couple of pages and you go, and then you go out and your life changes, and then you go back and you go, I want some more. Yeah,
that's right.
So it's taken decades and decades for us to get to where we are in life, depending on which age we're at, and then to think it can just change in an instant is, it's our own. We like to think it will do, and things can, but you can't do an all-encompassing fix in an instant, and the mind is not static. So even if I could do a brain dump to somebody and say, right, here's all the information right now, right, and they could put it into their mind and they now know all the answers, right? Well, your mind's not static, and something comes along, your dad dies, or you have a divorce, or one of your children has a bad accident, or you lose your job, or you fail an exam, or you crash a car. Anything can come along to wipe out the status quo in your mind. And now having all that knowledge is useless, because unless you've got a way of applying it and reapplying it and reapplying it, then it won't work. So, it's like I do with the video course that I did, it was like, this is a way of life to keep you on the path to certain success. It's like the books. The point of those books is not to read them to get to the end. The average reader or listener is on their third read. Average. And I have people who've now, one guy stood up at a seminar and said, I'm on my 20th read. right? And another guy recently sent me an email and said, I've just gone through my 30th read, right? Well, how good has something got to be for you to read it more than once, right? As you say, with all the other books out there, you'll read them, you'll love them. Don't get me wrong, I think I've read Think and Grow Rich 3 times. But I've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad twice, right? But how good does something have to be for it to be reread and reread and reread? Right? And I say in the book, I say, look, you can't pass this book on to anybody because you're not, until you're successful, you need it. It's going to keep you in tune because your mind is, you're open. So in other words, if you're once you know how to defeat the ego, something comes along, one of those tsunami thoughts, as I call them, comes in, your dad dies or something like that, and messes you up completely. If you have not got something in place to pick it up, as you said with your iPhone, you're there, you've written down you've created your golden book, so you can just browse through that. You don't need a lot. You just need a little bit on a regular basis to keep your mind in tune. And the problem is people think that they can acquire knowledge and that's it, it's there. No, they can talk about it. Yeah, so we can talk about it. We can even teach it. That doesn't mean we can apply it. There's a whole different level of being able to apply something to being able to know about it and being intellectually wise about a subject. You've got to be able to apply it, and that's the difference. All this is about getting you to apply the ancient wisdom. It's that's been laid down over, but people have got no way of applying it. I think there was a Lao Tzu quote said, if you're depressed, then you're living in the past. If you're anxious, then you're living in the future. And if you're at peace, then you're living in the present. Right?
That's
great. That's great. That's actually right. But how does anybody apply that? They've got no way of applying that. And so the process is all about, as you know, it's all about getting people to live more and more in the present. It's like there's another great book out there, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. I found that book fascinating, absolutely brilliant. But the problem was there wasn't a process to make it applicable. And so what I did was I've taken some of that great work and put it into this, where it makes it applicable, so you can live in the now instead of living in the future or living in the past, which is where well over 95% of people spend their lives either in the past or the future. Whereas if you live in the now, because that's all there is, you have a lot more time.
Yeah,
the past is gone, and the future is only one possible version. So why don't we live now? That's
one of the differences I noticed when I read the book, because I have read, Think and Grow Rich, The Secret, Rich Dad Poor Dad, all these books. I have read them. But the difference with your book is that you have the concept in there, right? But you also have and explain and show the way we have to think, how we have to think in order to apply those concepts so we can make our lives better and achieve whatever we would like to achieve. So that's like one of the wows of this book for me personally.
Oh, yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I would feel it wouldn't be right for me to not get the people to change. I can sell things, I can make people feel good, because we all feel good when we read a book and that sort of thing. And as you say, you go on to the next one and the next one. But my purpose is I want to see change. Yeah, that making people feel good. Yes, obviously, as otherwise people wouldn't read it. Countless times, right? But I want change. Full stop. That's what I'm after. I want change in people. That's it, right?
Whom do you believe will benefit most from your books and why?
Well, basically anybody who wants to achieve anything more in life than they are currently doing will benefit. If the people who will benefit most are the most ultra successful people are on the planet, because they would pick it up and go, wow, and they would take their results and they would multiply their results, because the second book, Using a Bug-Free Mind, is sticking a turbocharger on your brain basically. And so from a financial point, they'll benefit. But then again, you could say the people who are at the very, very bottom of the scale, where they're manically depressed, they've just divorced or something like that, they benefit the most, because their life, they feel that they want to end their life or something like that. We actually had to switch off our phone lines at work because the guys who answer the phone for me are not qualified to talk people off of committing suicide. And we used to get phone calls from people sitting in a bath with a toaster next to them, with a knife in their hand, with the pills. We had one guy parked in his car on a bridge and that sort of thing. And we had to switch the phones off because we had people phoning us up who were, at that point. Now, you can obviously say that those guys will benefit the most because instantly we turn them around, because obviously suicide is, is a collection, is the perfect example of a mind that is so full of bugs that their only way of silencing it is to commit suicide. So you could say from a life point of view, those guys get the best benefit. But if it's anybody. It's anybody at all. Anybody, because what it is, it's all how to think. So, for example, let's say you want to make money, or you want to learn trading, or you want to pass an exam, right? Anything, right? This makes you better. It's like with my one of the reasons the country was interested in this, because I'd made this brag that my son was able to get A grades without revising, without studying, and and I'd gone around the world doing this tour where we spoke all around the world, and and I'd done this tour, and I'd made this, but I said, well, of course, my son just saw his teachers, and of course, they're all annoyed with him because he's not studying and he's getting A grades, and they can't understand how he's doing it. And all that happened was I taught him how to do it, because it's a process, and if it's a process, he can replicate it. It can be replicable. So, of course, when I demonstrated this to the country, they were blown away, and we demonstrated it in a perfect way, because one of the dignitaries had a daughter was about to take an exam, and I just chatted to her for about 15-20 minutes, and she went from a D grade to an A grade in no time at all. Because it's all goes on up here, and when you know how to apply that, it can succeed. So you name it, whatever somebody's got to do. I don't know, you name it. I do a lot of work with loads of martial artists. Read the process or listen to the process, or they have the process constantly on when they're training, so that they can focus their minds. I don't know, doctors, scientists, architects, diplomats, politicians, you name it. It crosses all boundaries, because it's not teaching what to think. It teaches how to think. It teaches how to use what you've already got and grow it and make it more powerful. Yeah. So once you know how to structure what you're doing, you become more and more powerful. Whatever you choose to do in life. And that's why it's gone to so many countries so fast without us really trying very hard.
Yeah, if you ask me this question, I will say anyone as well, because in that trip we did to Las Vegas, we met people. I mean, personally, in my case, for example, it's about growing my business and making more money. Okay, it's about the financial situation. That's my personal case. For my girlfriend, it's about feeling better, feeling happy, getting out of the depression, all that. I have met some people who, are using this to lose weight. There are other people who are using it to find the perfect partner, like to find love. When I was young, I'm 33 now, okay? So when I was a teenager, and
you're still young, mate. The rest of the people on these who are watching this, he's still young, right?
Anyway,
I remember when I was 33, thinking I was old.
When I was younger, okay, so I used to be very fit, injury-free. I used to be a really good...
really unfit now.
I used to be a really good soccer player, and I mean a really good one, right? And anyway, all these injuries, starting coming up for some reason. And I asked you in Las Vegas, hey, Andy, what would you say? What would you do with a soccer player? What technique would you give him to never miss a penalty? Like never miss a penalty. And I was like, okay, all right, great. Now, when I came back to Australia after that trip, we were still in the soccer season, right? And I was in the team, but I have been with all these injuries and all that, unfit, and I applied the thing you told me about, never miss a penalty, but I applied to, not for penalty shoot, I just was applying for the, the way I played and the amount of goals I wanted to score, or that I decided to score in this season. And I wasn't the top scorer, but I was the second top scorer, which was the biggest achievement for me with this team, right? I'm over 30 years old, unfit, full of injuries, playing in a different country, in Australia, where all these guys are like this big, they just smash you, they just want to see you on the floor. So it's like, it's a different style, but I use the technique and I achieved to be the second top scorer, and I'm quite confident the next season will be much better. So yeah, it could be, this can be used for anyone, for any sort of situation.
I do a lot with athletes and that sort of thing, because as I say to people, the only thing that separates any athlete, the top 4 athletes in any sport, is their mindset. And so if you can fix that, we had the conversation, I think it was, you asked me, because it was about the time of the World Cup, wasn't it? And I was,
that's right.
How the English could easily fix their penalty problem, because the English can't score penalties when it comes to a penalty shootout. And I said I could easily fix it, and that was where it came up. And you asked me, well, how would you fix it? And so simple when you think about it, right? And people go about things in the wrong way. They don't think slowly, And when you can learn how to think slowly and stop worrying and that sort of thing, it's just life gets so much easier.
If someone wants to really up-level their standard of the quality of life, their vision of personal growth and achievement in terms of business success or family relationships or personal growth, it's phenomenal. It is transformative.
Since reading the books, I don't judge people. I don't worry about anything. I've got the techniques to, if anything comes into my mind, I think, well, that's not helping me. So I don't worry. I don't get stressed. I live in the now, and just a lot more peaceful. And I just feel that life's going the right way.
I have found out that things like stress, fear, anxiety, these things are illusions, and when situations come up in your life, if you can actually just refer back to at least learning those things that you've learned through the books, it makes your life much easier, it makes your life better, and it starts, in my case, to put me on a better path.
As everything really valuable in life, most things are really simple, and it's all about finding the things that you love to do, and the financial benefit is a byproduct of that. Yeah.
Who he is being speaks volumes. There's a wisdom, there's a knowledge, and there's a real generous sharing of the heart that comes across that makes all the difference in the world.
So his philosophy is different to other personal development books because he shows the practical way of personal development, or his concept.
And one useful thing I've done through reading the books is to actually stop watching TV like a robot, and it's freed up time for me to do things like read books, which I think will do me far more good than just sitting in front of the TV watching a whole string of programs that I never even remember or do me any good,
My mind had been shifted significantly. I understand more about a lot of things. My mind opened more, and I know for sure that by applying these techniques, I'm living my design.
I like the way he delivered it in simple language so that the lay person can understand.
There's a system in place that teaches, that shows us that if we follow these steps and apply it with vigilance and commitment, it's possible to have a real powerful transformation.
Since I've read the books, my worries and fears have all gone. I am 100% happier, and I live my life to the full.
So it gives you a purpose and a sort of focus, and perhaps a start and end point, so you know exactly where you're going to. Because the hardest part of any journey is actually taking the first step.
So, yeah, I do know that it's going to change things radically on all fronts. Whatever you want can happen, actually.
Just do it. You know, it's just to take you to that level. You'll know what you want, or if you don't know what you want, you'll know how to find out what you want. You'll know how to get the things that you want in your life, and you'll have great fun.
We can learn and understand things, but when we actually learn to know it and integrate it and apply it in what we're doing in our lives, anything is possible, and that is so exciting.